Now we come to the fourth question. The charge on 3 microfarad capacitor shown in the figure is. So we are supposed to find the charge on the 3 microfarad capacitor. So first let me give you a formula that represents it. C equal to Q by V it is. We know, everybody knows this is the formula where Q is equal to C into V. So just to ensure something, when capacitors are connected in series, the charge distribution on each and every capacitor will be the same. So what I will do is, I will first find what is the total capacitance, okay, and I will use that in here. I will use that in here to find my Q value first, okay. So if I find the Q value, then I can directly say that the charges are going to be the same for all the 3 capacitors when they are connected in series, and I can just finish the problem. Okay. First, 1 by C equivalent, since it is connected in series, this is the formula, 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 6 it is. So 1 by C equivalent is equal to 6 will be my LCM. So 3 plus 2 plus 1 is equal to 1 by 1. My C equivalent is nothing but 1 microfarad is the equivalent capacitance for this combination. So I will just use this in this formula where Q is equal to C into V. What is C in here? 1. What is V? It is 10. So Q is equal to 10 microcoulomb. Q is equal to 10 microcoulomb. Okay. So this is the charge distribution on the capacitors. Okay. This is how we solve it. First thing, what did I say? Since the capacitors are connected in series, all the capacitors are going to have equal number of charges. One thing. First, I found what is the total charge that is occupied on all the capacitor. To find that, I found the equivalent capacitance and I used the same exact formula to do that. Simple as it is. Now, like this, we move to the next question. Here, 3 capacitors, 2 microfarad, 3 microfarad and 6 microfarad are joined in series with each other. What is the equivalent capacitance? This is just like the previous question. You see, 2, 3 and 6 are connected in series, and what are they asking us to find? They are asking us to find the equivalent capacitance. Easy and simple. 1 by C equivalent. I did this in the previous problem. Just to repeat, I am doing it again. I want you to try it on your own, which is equal to 6 is the LCM again. So 3 plus 2 plus 1 is equal to 6 by 6. So the equivalent capacitance is equal to 1 microfarad. Is 1 microfarad it is. So this will be our answer. Easy. I don't have to explain this again. Okay. We move to the next question. Yeah, here we are encountering the dipoles. An electric dipole of length 20 centimeter having plus or minus 3 into 10 power minus 3 coulombs charge okay, charge is placed at 60 degrees with respective to the uniform electric field, experiences a torque of magnitude 6 Newton meter. What's the potential energy of the dipole? Okay, first let me collect everything. So that is the charge of the electric dipole, equal to plus or minus 3 into 10 power minus 3. 3 into 10 power minus 3 coulombs. Okay, then the length of the dipole is 20 centimeters. Note that we are supposed to convert that. Okay, now what I am going to do is, I am going to write the formula for the potential energy of an electric dipole. I know we did many derivations, even in your textbook you can find a derivation, and the result for that derivation is minus of Pe cos theta, minus of Pe cos theta. This is the electric dipole moment and this is an electric field, and that is the angle provided to you. So let's see. Actually torque is given. From that torque we are supposed to find the respective electric field, which I will be using it in here. Okay. So what is the formula for the torque? Tau is equal to Pe sin theta. Tau is equal to Pe sin theta, where tau is equal to Q into 2D, which is 2 into D of Q. Okay, this is the expression for the electric dipole moment, and E is the electric field. And what is theta? Theta is what is given to you in the question, which is 60 degree. Sin 60 is root 3 by 2. Sin 60 is root 3 by 2. Okay. So let me rearrange everything. So the torque is 6 newtons. So E is equal to 6 divided by 2D is the length of the dipole, which is 20 centimeters. So 20 into 10 power minus 2. 20 into 10 power minus 2, and the charge Q is 3 into 10 power minus 3. Then I'll also bring that root 3 to the denominator, root 3 by 2. So 2 goes up, root 3 stays down. Okay. Now all we have to do is we have to reduce everything. You see, this becomes 2 and I can just reduce this as 5. Okay, so the electric field. So the electric field is nothing but E is equal to 1 divided by, so here 10 power minus 3 and it is 10 power minus 2 in here. So 5 root 3 of 10 power minus 5 is what is present in our denominator. I'll just take this 10 power minus 5 to the numerator. So E is equal to 10 power minus 5 by 5 root 3. Okay, 10 power, sorry, plus 5 by 5 root 3. That is our E value. I have to just plug that inside this. All I have to do is I have to take that, I have to put it inside this equation, and I have to finish everything. So U is equal to minus of, what's P again? P is nothing but 2D into Q. What is 2D? 20 centimeters. So 20 into 10 power minus 2 into 3 into 10 power minus 3 of E, which is 10 power 5. 10 power 5 by 5 root 3. 10 power 5 by 5 root 3 into what is cos 60, which is 1 by 2. 1 by 2 it is. So now all we have to do is we have to slowly reduce each and everything that is available to us to get the answer. Okay, now let me start. This 2 and this goes as 10. This goes as 10, and then I can cut this 3 and this root 3 and this becomes root 3 again, and that's all. So now I am going to slowly bring everything down. Okay, listen. I will rub this side. U is equal to 10 into 10 power minus 2 into root 3 into 10 power minus 3 into 10 power 5 divided by 5 it is. Divided by 5 it is. Okay, now I am going to cut this and this becomes 2. Never ever forget that negative 1 which we have for the negative sign. So U is equal to, you see, 10 power minus 3, 10 power minus 2 and 10 power minus 5 will give you 1. So all you are left with is just negative 2 root 3 joules. So negative 2 root 3 joules will be your answer. So this is how you solve it. What did I do? First I wrote the formula. It was negative PE cos theta, and then I realized that my E term is not available with me. So I made use of the torque that was given to me in the question, and I have derived the E term first. And then after deriving this E term, I have again plugged that into the same equation to find my U. This time U was negative, and it is negative 2 root 3 joules it is. So this is how you solve it. This might look lengthy, but if you understand and if you solve it by yourself, it hardly takes a minute to do it. So please make sure that you always stick to a basic thing, that first write the formula that is necessary for you to find the given asked one in the question, and then try to write down the datas that is necessary to substitute into the equation that is required. So this is the basic thing that you have to follow in each and every problem. Okay, now let's move to the next one. Easy. The equivalent resistance. Most of the people actually feel comfortable doing this, but at the beginning when you just have a look at this, this might look complicated. Okay, this resistance is not as simple as you see. Okay, now just to see, it is 6 ohm, this is 3 ohm, this is 8, and this is 30 ohms. Okay, now how to solve this? No trick is involved in here, but a basic understanding, okay, a logical thinking is enough to solve this. What is this A and what is this B? These are the two terminals across which the batteries are going to get connected. Okay, so I will accordingly redraw the entire circuit and I will reduce this. Just to give you an information, to the terminal A, 3 ohm is connected, 6 ohm is connected, a 30 ohm is connected. See, one side of all these three resistors are connected. So I am going to do the same thing. First, this is 3 ohm. This is 6 ohm and 30 ohm. Then other end of 3 ohm and 6 ohm is interconnected. I am going to do the same thing. Before that, let me name it. This is 3 ohms, this is 6 ohms, and this is 30 ohms. 3 ohms and 6 ohm resistance are interconnected, and from that interconnection 8 ohm comes out. 8 ohm comes out, and you look, the 8 ohm resistance is again getting connected to 30 ohm resistors. So, and the point where 8 ohm and 30 ohm is interconnecting is where your B comes out. This is A and this is B. This is A and that is B. So now I am going to try and find the equivalent resistance. Now I am going to try and find the equivalent resistance. These two resistors are in parallel. 1 by R equivalent. 1 by R equivalent is equal to 1 by 3 plus 1 by 6 is equal to, what you will get? You will get 6 as your LCM, 2 plus 1 3, which is equal to 1 by 2, which is equal to 1 by 2. So R equivalent is equal to 2 ohms. R equivalent is equal to 2 ohms. I am talking about only this. So now this 2 ohm and this 8 ohm are in series, which together becomes 10 ohms. Okay, listen. This is reduced to 2 ohms. This got reduced to 2 ohms. This 2 ohm and this 8 ohm are in series, which makes 10, and this 10 and 30 ohm are in parallel. So the final R equivalent is equal to, let me finish it directly. Final R equivalent is nothing but 30 into 10 by 30 plus 10 it is. So it becomes 300 by 40 they go down. What is 30 by 4? It is 7.5 ohms. It is 7.5 ohms. It is. That is my R equivalent. That will be my R equivalent, which we are searching for. Okay, this gives us the equivalent resistance, which is your option C. So what did you do in the first place? First you redrew the circuit, and then after doing that you practically get an idea how the entire circuit looks. Then all you have to do is you have to get to the basic thing and find the equivalent resistance. How will you do that? First reduce the parallel combination, put it to series, and then reduce the entire thing. Okay, so this is easy as it looks. Most of the students will solve this question when I draw this diagram. So drawing this diagram is very crucial. So please follow the basic things that I did to draw this diagram. Okay. The dipole of the electric dipole moment P is placed in an uniform electric field of strength E. If theta is the angle between the positive directions P and E, then what is the potential energy of the electric dipole is largest when theta is? Okay, simple. They are asking you to find when will your electric potential energy for the electric dipole will be maximum. Yes. See, what is the formula for the electric potential energy? It's minus PE cos theta. So when do you think your U will take a maximum value? So most of the students think if you put theta equal to 0, where cos 0 equal to 1, and that is the maximum value of a potential energy. No, because you should take that negative sign into an account. Okay, maximum negative value is the minimum one. What do I mean to say is minus 7 is less than minus 1. Okay, so if you put 0 in here, you will get a value which is greater but on the negative side. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so instead of thinking like that, what I will do is I have 4 options with me. I'll plug in each and every value that is given to you in your option, and I will choose the bigger one. Simple. We don't have to make it so complicated. Okay, you don't have to think much. Take 4 options, put them in, test, give the maximum one. That's all. First, 45 degree. Cos 45 is 1 by root 2. Next, 90 degree, 0. 180 degree, minus 1. Cos 180 is minus 1. So your potential energy value will be positive PE. And if I put 0 in there, your potential energy value will be negative PE. So which one is the maximum? Very easy. Your pi 180 degree will give you the maximum value. So U max is equal to PE for theta is equal to pi. That's all. Because for all the other values, you will either get a negative sign or a 0. Okay, only for this value you will get a positive value. That is the reason why I choose that to be your maximum potential energy. Simple as it is. So now we go for the 29th question. 2 parallel plate capacitors X and Y have the same area of plate and same separations between the plate. X has air and Y with dielectric of dielectric constant 2 between its plate. They are connected in series to a battery of 12 volt. The ratio of electrostatic potential energy stored in X and Y is what we are supposed to find. So immediately the very first thing what we are supposed to do is we have to write the equation that helps us to find the potential energy stored in it. What is the potential energy stored in it? Stored in a capacitor, it is given as half into Q square by 2C or half into CV squared. Okay. 1 by 2 CV square or Q square by 2C, whatever it is. Okay. Right now I will not decide which one to use. As I go along, I will decide. So now listen. First, the capacitor X is equal to capacitance of a capacitor X is nothing but epsilon naught into A by D it is. What is the capacitance of a capacitor Y? Cy is equal to 2 into epsilon naught into A by D it is. So these are the two capacitance of a capacitor. Okay. So now they are being connected to a battery. Actually they are connected in series to a battery of 12 volt. So now listen. Here is a capacitor, here is another capacitor. They are connected to a battery. This is Cx and this is Cy and this is 12 volt, right? Like this. So now we are actually having a good picture of a problem. So now listen. Since two capacitors are connected in series, I am very well aware of that. The charge accumulated on both the capacitors are going to be the same. The charge accumulated on both the capacitors are going to be the same, whereas the potential drop on them are going to be different. So if I choose to go with this equation where C and V are involved, both C and V are different. So I will not go for this, either I will go for this. Q square by 2C. Why do I choose to go for the second equation? Because on both the capacitors, I know that charge is going to be the same. C is the only quantity that is going to differ. So it will be considerably easy for me to calculate everything. Okay, so now listen. We are supposed to do the whole thing in the ratio. Ex by Ey is equal to 1 by Cx times Cy. 1 by Cx times Cy. That is the ratio, because I'll choose this equation and I have written it in the ratio. Okay. What is Cx and what is Cy? We already have it with us. See, it's ready with us. So now all we have to do is we have to just plug it in. So if I just plug it in, Ex by Ey equal to 2 by 1 it is. 2 by 1 it is. See, it's a very, very, very easy problem. It's a very easy problem. All you have to do is you have to accordingly probe things. Okay, otherwise you will not get to know how to solve this problem at all. So this is very, very important as far as the problem is concerned. So with this note, we move to the next question, which is the 30th question. By increasing the temperature of the specific resistance of a conductor and the semiconductor, by increasing the temperature, the specific resistance of conductor and semiconductor, you have to say whether it will increase or it will accordingly decrease. Okay, so the question is very simple and straightforward. First, what happens for the conductor? What happens for a conductor? We already know if the temperature increases, the resistance of a conductor will also increase. Okay, but what happens in the case of a semiconductor? If you people are aware of the materials and their properties, in one statement in your question, in your textbook, it would have given us the semiconductors have a negative temperature coefficient. So what do you mean by a negative temperature coefficient? So negative temperature coefficient means on increase in the temperature, your resistance will decrease. Okay, so that is the option that I am going to choose now. for the conductor, on increase in the temperature, the resistance will also increase, but whereas in the case of a semiconductor, the resistance will decrease accordingly. Which is your third option? Which is your third option, and it is a straightforward one. You don't have to do any calculations or something like this for this. All you have to know is you have to theoretically understand how your specific resistance is going to behave for different materials and for different temperatures. Next session, which is an assertion reasoning session, which is going to be a very challenging one sometimes, and sometimes this might be very easy as well. So, there will be 4 fixed options for every question you come across for the assertion and reasoning. So, first what you have to do is you have to study the assertion. Assertion is a statement that is made and there will be a reason given to that. So, in your 4 options, the options will be given as both A and R, that is both assertion and reasoning are true, but both are not related sometimes, or sometimes your reason will be correct explanation for your assertion. Sometimes your reason will not be the correct explanation. Okay, so you have to accordingly choose, and at the same time sometimes A will be true but R will be false. Same way there is a situation that where both A and R will also be false. Anything could be given. Okay. Now let's go for the first question. Here the assertion is an electron has a high potential energy when it is at the location associated with a more negative values of potential, and low potential energy when at the location associated with more positive potential. Okay, when associated with more positive potential. So these are the ones that are given to us. So there is an electron. First, the electron is situated at the place where there is an high potential. Okay, so then it is situated at the place, first it is situated with more negative value of potential, then with the low negative value of potential. Okay, now the reason they give for that is electrons move from the region of higher potential energy to the lower potential is what they are giving. Okay, so now we are going to analyze the situation first. Okay, listen. The electron has high potential energy when it is located, when the location associated with more negative value of the potential. So it has got a huge potential energy when it is associated with more negative value of potential. That is true. And low potential energy when its location is associated with more positive potential. Okay, so electron being a negatively charged one, when it is associated with a negative values, then the negative and negative will give a potential energy which becomes positive. Okay, so in that case the first statement is correct, and where the second statement says when it is located in association with more positive charge, it will have a low potential energy. That is also true, because electron is negatively charged, and when it is associated with the other charges which are positive, where plus and minus will eventually reduces the potential energy again. Okay, so the first statement is true. Next, the electron moves from the higher potential energy to lower potential energy. Okay, see, let's assume this is our battery and this is a positive terminal and this is the negative terminal. So this is always, the positive terminal is considered to be a high potential region and the negative terminal is considered to be a low potential region. So if there is going to be an electron which is a negative charge, it will always experience a force and it will run towards the positive plate. So it moves from lower potential region to the higher potential region. Okay, so your reasoning is wrong and your assertion is true. So option C is your answer. So option C is your answer. See, that is how we have to analyze. As per the diagram, a point charge plus q is placed at an origin O. Work done in taking another charge negative q from a point A to another point B along a straight path AB is. So, you see, a charge positive q is actually situated in your origin, and a negative q is taken from a point A to the point B along the straight line. Just remember something. In class 11 in work energy and power, you would have studied that the electric field is a conservative field. So, your work done is not going to depend on the path at all. It's not going to depend on the path at all. So, whichever path you choose to go, it's well and fine. Okay, the work will remain the same. That's what I would like to say. So, it doesn't matter whether it goes in a straight line or it goes in a circular path or in a semicircular path, it doesn't matter. As long as it is going to start from A and it is going to go to point B, we are fine. So, work done is nothing but the change in the potential energy. So, first I will find the potential energy at point A, and then I will find the potential energy at point B, and I will subtract them and I will come to the conclusion. Yes, listen. So, potential energy at point A is equal to minus K into capital Q into small q divided by A it is. Minus K into capital Q small q divided by A. That is the potential energy at point A. Likewise, so this is the distance. Potential energy at point B is equal to minus K into capital Q into small q by A it is. And we already know that work done is nothing but the change in the potential energy. Work done is nothing but the change in the potential energy, and UA and UB both are same. Both are same. So, your work done is 0. So, your work done is 0. That's how it is. Simple. Initial potential energy, final potential energy, I took the difference. We already know what is the equation for the potential energy. It is potential energy is nothing but K into Q1 Q2 by R. Since one charge is negative here, you are getting a negative sign in here. Again, you will get the same negative sign in here when your negative Q goes to the point B. So, on taking the difference between them, we are done. So, this is how the things really work in here. So, now we move to the next question, which looks like this. There are 3 concentric spherical shells having radii A, B and C, and have surface charge densities sigma, negative sigma and positive sigmas respectively, where VA, VB and VC denotes the potentials on the 3 shell. Okay, but finally what they say is C is equal to A plus B. Then they want us to check this statement. So, what I am going to do now is I am going to write the potential for all the 3 shells, and I am going to apply that data that is given to us, and I am going to finish it off. See, this is the innermost shell, this is the second one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. Okay, so this is A, this is B and this is C. Okay, so the outermost shell is sigma, the center one is negative sigma and the innermost is another positive sigma. Okay, so listen, potential on point A is equal to, because A is the innermost shell. Okay, so now listen, you have to take a charge, you are taking a charge, and that charge will first, it has to cross the outermost one, then the middle one, then it has to reach the innermost one, right? All the spheres are actually charged. So now look how I am going to write it. So K into Q by C, this is the potential to bring a charge from infinite to distance to this point, and then it goes into the middle one. So in that case it will be minus k into q by b, and then again it crosses the middle sphere and it goes to the innermost sphere. So plus k into q by a it is. So this is the potential offered to a charge when you try to take it to the innermost one. Okay. So now likewise VB. Now you are going to take the same charge and you are going to try and put it on the middle one. So listen, first it has to cross the outermost sphere. So it will be kq by c, then minus kq by b, then since you are going to put it in here and the innermost sphere is also charged, the potential offered by the innermost sphere will be plus kq by b itself. Now likewise potential on C. Now you are not going to do anything, you are going to bring a charge from infinite distance and you are going to just put it on the top of a sphere. So it will be kq by c minus kq by c plus kq by c it is. This is how you represent it. So now you have to check one over the other. So before doing that, what I am going to do is I am just going to substitute C is equal to A plus B. C is equal to A plus B. So now what happens if you are going to do that? What happens if you are going to do that? See, we have the C in here and we have C in here. Okay, first thing is option C possible? Is option C possible? Definitely not, because no way all the three potentials will be equal. Okay, now first one, I am going to see the first option. VA is equal to KQ by K into Q by A plus B minus K into Q by B plus K into Q by A. So first I will just take the LCM for these two things. So what happens? Ka is equal to Kq by A plus B of A into Kq with a negative sign plus B into Kq by BA. Okay, so nothing much is happening here. Okay, let me leave it. Let me directly jump to third one, VC, because there all the C's are equal, right? So everything gets added up. So what I am left with is KQ by C is what I am left with, which is equivalent to KQ by A plus B. What I am left with is KQ by A plus B. Okay. So now what I can say is, since A plus B is equal to C, I'm sure about one thing. What I can just do is, if I again take LCM for this, if I take LCM for this, I'll end up with a value which is equal to this. I'll end up with a value which is equivalent to this. So now, in order to prove this, we shall do something. If I again take an LCM of this, we get VA is equal to K into Q by A plus B. So this proves me a fact. This definitely proves me a fact that VC and VA are equal, but it's not equal to VB. Okay, I am not just going to do this step because it's a simple LCM thing. You have to cross multiply BA to this and you have to cross multiply A plus B to this. So if you do that, they are going to get mutually cancelled away. So they are going to get mutually cancelled away, and your A terms will also get cancelled with this B and A in the denominator, and you will be left only with KQ by A plus B. So in this case I can prove that my VC is equal to VA, but it is not equal to VB. So this is how the thing works with this problem. So now we move to the next one. Here the question is very simple and straightforward. In a region, the potential is represented like this, a equation, and electric field experienced by the charge of 2 coulombs situated at this point. So what you are supposed to find is, you are supposed to find the electric force experienced by 2 coulomb of charge. First, let me decide what formula that I am going to use. You see, E is equal to minus of dV by dr, minus of dV by dr. Since we are talking about the electric force, what I will be doing is, I will be multiplying Q on both the sides. So I will be getting capital F on the left side and dV by dr into Q on the right side. So all that I have to do is, I have to differentiate it with respect to R, and then finally I will be multiplying it with the charge, which is 2 coulomb, which is given to us in the question. Okay, let it be straightforward. Let me differentiate it first. Capital F is equal to minus of, first you differentiate the whole equation with respect to x, then you differentiate the whole equation with respect to y, and then with respect to z. Okay, first if you are going to differentiate the whole thing with respect to x, it will be 6 minus 8y, this goes 0 and this goes 0. Okay, this is your I cap, plus you are going to differentiate the whole thing with respect to y. If you do so, the first term goes to 0, the second term ends up like negative 8, then minus 8 again, sorry, this goes as minus 8x, the second term goes as minus 8, and then plus 6z j cap, plus you are going to differentiate the whole thing with respect to z again. First term goes to 0, second term goes to 0, third term goes to 0. You will have only this positive 6 with you. This is your k cap. And then finally you multiply the whole thing with the charge in order to convert it to the force. Okay. So again the whole 2 coulomb of charge is situated at 1, 1, 1. Put everything inside, where capital F bar is equal to negative of minus 2 I cap plus here you put 1, it becomes minus 16. So it becomes minus 10 j cap. Then again it stays as 6 itself, 6 k cap into 2 it is. So unfortunately the whole answer is given to us in terms of a magnitude. So I will try to find the magnitude for this. So F is equal to 2 into root of 4 plus 100 plus 36. 4 plus 100 plus 36. So capital F is equal to 2 into root of 140 it is. So 140 can be rewritten as root of 35 into 4. So if I pull that 4 out of the root, it comes out as 2. That 2 and this 2 will become 4. So 4 root 35 newtons is your answer. 4 root 35 newtons is the answer. See, again the question is straightforward. That is the relationship. This way of differentiation is the only crucial thing that you have to do correctly. So first you have to differentiate the whole thing with respect to x, then with respect to y, then with respect to z. Only then you will end up with the correct answer. Otherwise you will end up with an error, and you should also make sure that you don't miss this negative sign. Okay, that negative sign follows throughout the question. Okay, so this is how this problem is solved. So now we move to the next question. A, B and C are the 3 points in the uniform electric field. Then what is the electric potential? So now immediately I will write the equation for the electric potential, which looks like this. And R represents the distance from the charge. So if the distance is going to be less, then the electric potential is going to be more. So from this question, this being an uniform electric field, then what I can assume that there should be some positive charge at the left. Okay, I am not sure about the source, but I am very much sure about the source is on the left side. I am sure about that. So this B point is close to the source compared to C and A, because this is an uniform field. Okay, so we don't have to worry about the placements. We only worry about the distance from the source. So I know that my point B is much closer to my source than my A and C. So the distance is comparatively less, so the potential is maximum for the point B. So this is how I conclude the answer. So this is how I conclude the answer, saying that my point P is much closer in there. Okay, so we move to the last question of this session. The electric dipole of the dipole moment P is aligned parallel to the uniform electric field E. Then the energy required to rotate the dipole to a 90 degree. So you are supposed to find the energy. Energy is nothing but work. Work is nothing but the change in the potential energy. Okay, so what is the potential energy for an electric dipole? So potential energy for an electric dipole is minus P into E cos theta. Minus P E cos theta. So initially it is lying parallel to the electric field. So the theta is 0 degree. Initial is minus PE. Then it aligns perpendicular to the electric field. So theta is 90 degree. So the final potential energy is 0, where the work is nothing but final minus initial, and your work done for this particular case is nothing but positive PE. It is positive PE. So this is how you do this. Again, it is straightforward. I found that the energy required to rotate the dipole is nothing but the work done. I know that the work done is nothing but change in the potential energy, and I found the initial and final potential energy, and I found the difference between them. So this is how the things really work with almost all the problems that you come across. All you have to do first is find the correct formula to solve the question. Then you have to write the necessary data for them, and you have to finish it off. Clear? So with this note, I will finish my session, and we will again meet in the next one. Thank you.